Do you enjoy being frightened? Would you rather have nightmares instead of sweet dreams? Are you happy only when shaking with fear? Congratulations, you've made a wise choice. This book is the doorway to all that may frighten you. Get ready for cold, clammy shivers running up and down your spine. Now, open the door, if you dare. Happy Halloween, everybody. And if my face is the scariest thing you see all night, well, I'm sorry about that. But my night is going to be spent watching the World Series and reading this book that I found on Cameron Chaney's channel, otherwise known as Library Macabre. I found this in a video he did called Goosebumps Knockoffs, and evidently this is the darkest one. It is Shivers, the Curse of the New Kid. Hopefully I can read it before game 4 starts. Go Rangers, and let's read about some evil spirits. I'm on page 3, and the font is really big and spread out, and it's like double space, and the paragraphs are at like 2-inch margins, and we already have mention of gang violence, like real gangs that like jump you in and wear all the same clothes. This is a children's book? Boy, Cameron Chaney was not lying when he said this was dark. Let me read you from page 29. He was walking past Miss Swimmer when he stepped on one of his shoelaces and tripped. He put his hand out to brace his fall, but his head hit the corner of Miss Swimmer's desk. Leon never ties his shoes. Kids heard his head crack all the way in the hall. It opened a gash over his left eye. Blood was squirting in the air before his head hit the floor. He was sprawled out across the floor. He didn't move or moan or anything. A red pool spread from his head. I figured he was dead for sure. Some girl screamed when she saw the blood. I didn't touch him, Miss Swimmer, I said. I know that, Lucas, she said, kneeling beside the fallen boy. It's not your fault. But I wish it was. I wish I had busted Leon's head open myself. I felt bad about thinking thoughts like that. I'm not really like that. Really, I'm not. At the door, I turned to look back at Leon, and what I saw sent shivers down my neck. Miss Swimmer was still sitting beside Leon, but she was looking right at me. Her face was hideous. The lips of her mouth were pulled away from her teeth in the same ghastly grin I had seen on the face of the bus driver. Whoa! For all of you that have seen Carrie or read it, I haven't, do people die? Because a kid in Shivers just fell off the rope in the gym and killed his PE teacher. This is goodness. I don't know if I would have. Yeah, I would have. I would have liked this as a kid, and I like it now. Am I gonna put it in my classroom? Probably not. Don't want ideas going around. 2 pages later, we have dead babies. What the heck is this? Alright, so I might be a little bit distracted by the World Series. Go Rangers. So the World Series is going well, if you're a Ranger fan, and on this station we are, so here we go. I want to read you an excerpt again. I dropped my book pack to the floor with a thud, my fingers coiled into fists. They all jumped me at the same time. I felt fists hitting me in the stomach and the face. I heard bones crush and flesh tear. I heard cries of pain, but I felt nothing. Nothing but the hard, hot rage inside me. Somebody screamed. It was a horrifying scream. It startled me so much that I stopped swinging my fists and kicking my feet. I realized then I had been fighting with my eyes closed. When I opened them, I could not believe what I saw. For the first time since the fight began, I felt sick to my stomach. I thought I might throw up. What? We gotta have a Dutch angle for this one. It gets better. Jason's face was a horrible mess of blood and ripped skin. He didn't look like someone who had been in a fight. He looked like someone whose face had been melted by a blowtorch. Dylan's hands were mangled and twisted as if they had been caught in a farm machinery. It looked like every bone in his fingers was smashed. Greg was even worse. His clothes were shredded and soaked with blood. There were claw marks across his chest. Blood spurted like there was a hole in his chest. His ribs poked through the skin. Whoa. I'm reading this part for the first time, and his ribs poked through the skin. That shocks me. Pete. I couldn't look at Pete. His left arm hung limply at his side, as if the only thing holding it to his body was the tattered shirt he was wearing. Every bit of his clothing was ripped and slashed. The side of his face was so bloody you couldn't see one of his eyes. His lips were puffy. He coughed. His teeth crumbled in his mouth. I turned away from the broken, bloody, twisted bodies on the floor. Did I do this? I turned my head towards the cheerleaders. They looked back at me with wide grins stretched across their faces. Their teeth were smeared red. Blood dripped from their large, sharp fingernails. God. This has got to be the weirdest thing I've ever read. And that includes a book that describes a boat as having deflated tits for sales. The ending was a little ambiguous, which I like. It got even more dark from the point I left off reading to you guys. I mean, I don't want to give too much away. But I think I don't know if I should put this in my classroom. It's so dark. But it's made for kids, and how did they get away with even, publishing this thing in the first place? It's gonna be hard to give this a star rating because it's just so out there. But this has been a good Halloween night, and, happy Samhain.